Hey y'all, welcome back to the party. It's me, your girl BrittReacts. Me and my lunch. Listen, we're not new here. We're friends, we're family. Y'all know what kind of time I'm on. I have children, I'm homeschooling, and I have limited time to eat in between y'all, them, and me and everything else, okay? So we're gonna have lunch together and we're gonna react to this suggestion that came my way. This is from a channel called JUBILEE, Men's Rights versus Feminism. Is toxic masculinity real? Let's find out. I have it already queued up, ready to go. I didn't want to waste any time.
Hello everyone, welcome.
Thank you for tuning in for Middle Ground, which is all about disagreeing and having a dialogue.
That's right. Make sure you stick around to the end because we want to discuss more about the ethos of Middle Ground, but for now, we hope you enjoy.
You said that women are misguided. We are not misguided. We do not need you to shepherd us.
Whoa. What an intense intro. Whoa.
Hello.
Would you call yourself a feminist?
I would.
Yes, an intersectional feminist.
When you hear the word feminism, what comes to mind?
Marxism?
To me, feminism is fairness.
I think that it's unfortunately misguided.
Feminism is a flawed movement.
When you hear the phrase men's rights, what comes to mind?
Aggression.
Advocating for the human rights of man as a class.
I start laughing.
What do you hope to get in the conversation?
I would hope to get some insight and probably, if anything, agree on a lot more than disagreeing.
I like him. Immediately. I like him. I'm trying not to chew in your ear. Listen. This is the issue right here. This is the issue. All of these assumptions, presumptions, instead of, I hope to get some insight and find that we have more common ground than we have anything else. He's the most positive one going into this, and I feel, at least I hope, and maybe I also fear, I don't know. I'm nervous. I'm nervous about this.
Hope to get some insight and probably, if anything, agree on a lot more than disagreeing.
I actually hope to get a little bit more understanding of why some men think this way.
Do you think there's middle ground between men's rights activists and feminism?
We'll see.
Hi, my name is Zach, and
Also, I just want to say, one of the question was, what do you think about feminism? And he said it's a flawed movement. I don't know a movement that isn't flawed. I don't know anything or anyone other than Jesus Christ himself that isn't flawed. Save the Jesus comments for another video, okay? Leave me alone. I'm not doing that with y'all today.
hi, my name is Zach, and I am 24 years old.
This is Chris. I'm a PhD student at the University of Southern California, and I'm also a Title IX specialist who challenges discrimination against men on college campuses. And I'm 30 years old.
Did we ask
Hi,
for...
I'm Derek. I also go by Brendio. I'm a YouTuber, and I'm also known as an incel, which is an involuntarily celibate.
Hi, my name is Alicia. I am a writer, poet, and teaching artist.
Hi, I currently work in the pet health industry, and I'm 30.
I'm 24. I'm a graduate student with a degree in health sciences, and I'm excited to be here today.
Can I get my men's rights activists in the left and my feminists on the right? You step forward if this statement is true for you. I believe men and women are different but equal.
I know as a woman that I don't have the same physical strengths. Men and women are built differently. I think whenever things are built differently, it's for a reason, right? But at the same time, the amount of limits that have been put on women historically, like the fact that not too long ago we were just allowed to like start voting. Even today, like the wage gap, just all types of stuff. Like women just don't have a lot of rights that are just, it should have nothing to do with what gender we are to be able to be paid equally or just be treated with respect. So, yeah.
I do believe that, of course, there are biological differences between men and women. And of course, there should also be legal equality. Of course, I disagree with the idea that women face systemic discrimination. You just mentioned the wage gap, which has been debunked so many times.
I've studied evolutionary biology quite a bit. And men and women are very different from not just a physical, the bone structure, the neurological department as well as the chemical balances. And also, I don't believe that men and women are equal under the law either, or they should be, rather.
This is freaking intense. Holy cow. I also, this man just literally titled himself an incel. That was jarring to me because I've never heard anyone just rightfully call themselves an incel. Wow. This is eye-opening. I'm just gonna keep eating my lunch. We'll watch this together. I'm interested to hear what he has to say because he's very matter of fact about the fact that he feels men and women just are not equal, both in work, in physicality, under the law. Or he didn't say in work. He said under the law and physically. Okay, let's keep going.
I don't believe that men and women are equal under the law either, or they should be, rather. Children are not equal under the law. And it's not because we hate children, it's because we love them and we want to protect them.
So if
that's a take,
you believe we're not equal, then that you're inferring that one would be greater than the other.
Well, so let me
so that's what
chime in
I'm
with my
trying to-
perspective.
yeah.
As far as not being equal, I don't think that necessarily means inferior or superior. When it comes to certain things like roles like childbearing, a woman is going to be far more productive and a lot more nurturing than, say, a man. And when it comes to doing a lot more of the heavy lifting and the work, a man is probably going to be more suited for that role. And I don't think that makes them any better or worse. We are just built, created, and born different.
I would also like to elaborate.
I don't disagree.
I am not saying that they are worse overall or better overall.
They complement each other.
Like he said, yeah, they do.
They complement each other beautifully.
They work very well together.
We
when
need
they
each other for offspring. I mean, that's part of the beauty of it. And I think trying to equalize them and make them the same and, transition and all that, I don't believe is going to be the most conducive when it comes to the family raising children, but also just for overall well-being.
I want to note that you brought up children being unequal to adults. I just hope you weren't comparing women to children.
I mean, it was technically a comparison of women and children.
I don't need you to protect me. I just need you not to harm me. I can.
No. I need my man to protect me. I need every man in my life to protect me. Maybe I'm for men's rights. There's so much to unpack here. I'm struggling. I understand both sides deeply. I'm a woman. I'm a married woman. I'm a Christian woman. I'm a mother. I've been an employee. I own businesses. There's just so many things, right? But at the end of the day, if you're standing in a room and it's you, me, a woman, a man, my husband, and an intruder, I want my husband to protect me from the intruder. Can a woman protect me? A woman's not in the room, but can she? Yeah, sure. But there's more of a likelihood that a man will do a better job protecting me against a male intruder or an intruder, male or female, with a weapon or any of the things. Excuse me. We're all friends. We're all family. Do y'all this whole, and I say this because I never identified as a feminist. I never I don't think thought like that. I just lived my life. But I am a recovering over independent woman, meaning I had to do everything for myself for a very long time. I had nothing handed to me. I didn't come from a family that would just offer help. I didn't have healthiest relationships with my parents. And so I grew up very like, I'm independent, blah, blah, blah. And I became a mom and I'm like, I'm a single mom, I'm independent, da, 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 da. And then you become married and you see what the design of marriage, a true partnership, is meant to be. And it is meant to be give and take, push and pull. I am stronger at certain things and my husband is stronger at certain things. It doesn't make either of us better than the other. It gives us balance. And so many women like are dismissing the power in the balance because they don't want to depend on a man. I want to depend on my husband, my uncle. I wish I could depend on my father. I want to depend on my brothers. I want to depend and I want all of them to protect me. I do. And I think women are getting that confused with like being like, woe is me, damsel in distress, submissive. And there is a biblical submission, and then there's submission that like, no, I'm not gonna lay down and let you walk all over me, right? But I think women have gotten so caught up in the hoorah, the hoopla of it all, that they're not understanding the same way men need us, we need them. I really wish we could just get rid of all of these labels and titles. It's infuriating. Let's just be humans.
Be a comparison of women and children.
I don't need you to protect me. I just need you not to harm me. I can protect my.
Look how angry she got and how unaggressive he is. But to one of them, they said that the movement, the word that comes up is aggression. He wasn't aggressive in any way. She's like, okay, listen, y'all.
Okay.
Sometimes
I don't
we
need
are
you to
our own
protect
worst
me.
enemy.
I just need you not to harm me. I can protect myself. I'm very capable of doing what I need to do. Okay?
Okay, sure.
100%.
I am an incel or an incel advocate, I suppose. I don't hate women at all. I think we're different and they have aspects that are superior to men as well. It's just very contextual on the subject.
Toxic masculinity is real.
I think that toxic masculinity is definitely a real thing. It's kind of just the idea of what masculinity should be, but it goes wrong a lot of the times, saying that violence, sex, power, being a controlling person makes you a man.
I see it in very unfortunate places, like when the young men or boys in my family, even from like toddler age, are told, you shouldn't be crying, boys don't cry. And what that turns into, I see it when I'm in a bookstore and a guy who tries to get my number says, why y'all always gotta act like that? And he sincerely had this like cracking voice, like he was hurt, but it was an entitlement. And that's toxic masculinity. It's saying like, you don't realize how your behavior is harmful.
What does toxic masculinity mean? Is it character traits? Is it upbringing?
The suppression of feeling for a lot of men, because throughout childhood, they're told, man up. So because of that, there's a lot of repression. Repression then is usually channeled into anger for some people because they not always know how to express because they were told not to express.
So upbringing and
That's part of
environment.
it,
Okay.
yes.
But not something that's inherently a part of men. Okay.
No.
I think that, when you're showing your emotions, especially to like, random people, random women in some cases, they will view you as weak. I was raised by a single mother. I love her. She's my mom. I love her. But I could have used being told to act like a man. I think back, there were some cases where I was too emotional and that negatively affected.
He's got a point. I hear them being the women. And yes, I do think as a society overall, we have to stop telling our boys they can't cry, they can't feel, they can't emote. But we also have to teach our boys to control those emotions. We have to teach our girls and our boys, but I think we teach our girls innately. And with our boys, we just tell them to shut it off rather than how to deal with it, how to handle them. And he's saying, I think my emotional reactions, looking back at it, affected me negatively. Toxic masculinity. I'm guilty of using this phrase in a joking way, but I'm guilty of using it. And using it wrong, if I can be honest, just as someone who is more traditional, more patriarchal, I'm like, oh, I think women immediately, some women will write that off as being toxically masculine. I'm struggling with this one. I'm struggling, I think, to find my words here. Okay, I think this one is a healthy conversation. I think both sides have healthy points, and they seem to be able to express them in a healthy way. Some of the women's examples, like the bookstore example, which happens all the time, I don't know if that's toxic masculine. I don't know, guys. I'm struggling with this one. I'm struggling.
How I, what happened to me. And
May I ask a question?
Sure.
What is your definition of weak as a man?
Not being as forward as you could be, not being as honest, or trying to be not as emotional as you don't need to be. You don't have to cry over a cut. I know, sometimes cuts hurt a lot, but sometimes it's necessary to be strong for the benefit of not just yourself, but for the people around you. It's fine to act emotional in certain cases, but I don't think it's fine to act that way with a woman. Maybe, you have a really good friend and he sees you cry, he's your best friend and you're crying about something really personal. I think that's fine.
I feel like you're conflating two different situations because you started off with saying a random person or even women. So it feels like, okay, this is a woman that you don't have a bond with or any type of relationship with. And then you mentioned, or in front of your best friend, that's okay to cry. Well, that woman could be your best friend. That, so.
I don't think you can be friends with a woman, so.
Because you don't see us as equal, as you said before.
I don't think showing emotions is
I don't know if he said he doesn't think he can be friends with a woman because he doesn't think he's equal, or if because he's defined himself as an incel, which in my understanding is someone who has not had much physical, mental, emotional relationship connection with a woman. So how could he think from his life experience? He's an involuntary celibate man, meaning he's not voluntarily choosing celibacy. He doesn't feel he has been chosen to have relations with a woman. So then why would he think that he could be friends with a woman? This is what I think so much of these conversations is rooted in, is life experience rather than real deal fact, right? It's emotionally charged, it's experience led, and we all live different experiences. I'm gonna be 100% honest with you guys. I grew up in a domestic violence situation. I grew up watching a family member be domestically abused. I've grown up around foster care for a good part of my life. I've seen children who have been abused. I've seen teens on all types of drugs. I've seen all of these things, and all these circumstances have shaped me in some way. And I've had to fight against the mentality, the victim mentality that, well, I'm this way because I was a witness to this. I still know right from wrong. I still understand the concept of emotion and how to properly do things, because my experiences taught me that, and because I decided not to let the teachings of those experiences only be negative. I hope I'm making sense. And so I don't know. I don't know what any of these individuals have been through. I don't know any of their circumstances. I feel the young man in the yellow is the only one who's really given us insight to his personal journey with the incel thing. He does too, between the three men, seem to be the one that's way less factual and way more leaning on his experience. The others haven't spoken much. This toxic masculinity thing this might be the one to take me out, guys.
Because you don't see us as equal, as you said before.
I don't think showing emotions is a sign of weakness. I actually think it's a sign of strength. Men do live shorter lives.
That is your
and it's because
experience.
Of a repression
a lot
of
of women don't
emotions,
treat men that way.
That's due to many things that patriarchy has instilled.
Of emotions.
It has been shown that a person's well-being, their lifespan is shortened when they are not able to express their emotions. In addition, when they don't have physical touch or when they don't have a partner to keep them company. We are human beings here. We need to talk to each other. And if you think
She's
that our
right.
health isn't affected when you're not able to express that you are sad or upset, you're wrong. I think that men's rights activists are only men's rights activists as a response to women expressing that they want more equality. I don't think they focus on actual men's rights issues, and
That's
rather
a
it's
take.
just an attack on women and feminism.
Today,
She's got a point,
women
maybe.
have more advantages than men.
She said
I can speak
Jesus.
from a hiring standpoint when it comes to things like affirmative action, and there are certain roles that traditionally men and women have been able to serve in, and now women can basically do all of those things, right? Because we've had such a strong advocacy for equal representation in the workplace. Whereas, for example, you know, you'll never find a man as a midwife nurse, and I don't think it's appropriate. That's why there are those differences.
Women in like the most important parts of society have an advantage. There's a lot of positions that men simply aren't getting hired at anymore because of, you know, the fact that they're a man. And it's not just in the workforce, it's also, I would say, you know, it's a lot easier for a woman to find a relationship, even if she, you know, says it's finding the right guy is so hard. It really isn't. But sometimes for a lot of guys, finding a girl at all is hard.
If I have
He's
to
very
consider
emotionally
what I
charged
wear
in his
before
responses.
stepping out the house, because I don't want to draw some type of attention. I don't know how many other men have to consider, is this outfit going to be deemed safe for me? Any situation that I've experienced where like I physically felt endangered simply because I don't want to give my number out. It's part of that entitlement for men. You're not entitled a conversation with me. You're not entitled to my number.
That aside, it's like, are you gonna make one example of the entitlement of men when it comes to asking for your number be the all-encompassing thing that all men have a problem when it comes to approaching women?
Well, firstly, it's not just an example. It's not necessarily all men. I don't dislike men. I love sports, I play video games. I have bros, I hang out with dudes. We just want men to realize that if you have friends that are having locker room talk, as a man, as an ally, please say something to your friends.
Do you think repressing that is really the solution here, though? If it's in a healthy male space.
There's nothing
I don't think
healthy
that's
about
healthy. I think it's
There's
toxic
nothing-
in itself.
I mean, if you're making jokes and you're doing all of that.
Jokes that are harmful jokes are not healthy because they just lead to people normalizing things. People always say, oh, it's just a joke, but when someone else hears it, they don't realize how that resonates, and again, how that turns into violence. Like, this is not an isolated situation. I'm only thinking of 3 off the top of my head, because if I think of too many, I'm gonna spiral
So
right now.
what's the alternative? Men shouldn't talk about these things.
No, I think
No
men
one's
can
ever
have a
said
healthy
that.
dialogue. I don't think men have to be toxic in order to have a conversation. I know plenty of men that are able to have conversations about healthy, productive things, just like women are.
The men are
it's not
so
obviously
over this.
something that I have personal experience with, but only 1% of all people on the death row are women in this country. So when women and men commit identical crimes, women are much more likely to, for example, escape the death penalty.
This is what I was looking for, some facts. Like, because the question was, do women have more rights than men? And he is the first one, I feel, to bring forward some type of real answer to that. No one else is talking about rights. We're talking about dating. We're talking about clothing and things like that. But as far as rights, do women have more rights than men? And where I think everyone is wrong here, I think, is that women's rights or ability to be in spaces that we haven't always been able to be in have risen. We've seen more access to these things, and men have just seen more people shutting the door on them because they don't want to be canceled. You know, this company will hire a woman before they hire a man now because they don't want to be canceled. They don't want somebody to say like, oh, that company doesn't hire women or whatever. You know what I mean? I think also you see in society overwhelmingly so that men just feel that they are now the target. It's no longer a black-white thing. It's a women-man. It's a gender thing. But he's the first one. And I'm not saying that I believe that. I'm just saying I think that that is, when I open up the internet, what it looks like to me is like we have really kind of shifted from it being about black, white, yellow, green, orange, purple, to it being about Republican, Democrat, man, woman. I don't know. I'm interested to read your thoughts. But he, to me, is the first one to actually give an example that I think answered the question. Everybody else kind of danced around and again got super emotional. And not that that's not allowed, but in a conversation like this, you can't only hit with like, well, experience and it's much easier for women to find a man than it is for a man to find a woman. It's like, in your experience. But what are the facts here?
1% of all people on the death row are women in this country. So when women and men commit identical crimes, women are much more likely to, for example, escape the death penalty. And that's just plain sex-based discrimination.
That I agree on.
That's true. I'm thinking about basic needs.
No one could say that's not
around
true.
the globe, the women who don't even have like proper like sanitary like products.
I mean, I have to agree. Just small things like a tax on a box of tampons. Do you think I choose to do this monthly? No, trust me. So why should I have to pay taxes when this is a medical necessity?
We're just like dismissed. A lot of our
Another
symptoms,
good point.
a lot of the things we report, especially women of color, but women across the board, are just treated a lot less equally.
I'd say that I'm an advocate for what I believe the role that men play in society. I believe that their views should be expressed openly, that they should be given a platform to do so, and I believed in men unapologetically and unashamedly being men as we were created.
I think in my heart that there are things that men are entitled to. I am all about human rights, and I do consider the rights of every human, but every time I hear of a men's rights activist, I hear anger and I hear very illogical reasoning, and it just boils my blood because it's a setback for all of us.
I feel that the other side does not understand my values.
Okay, everybody come on, sit down.
I think a lot of times when a movement is created, the other side thinks that they're being attacked or think that it's some like attempt at erasure. That's not what.
Okay, this I wanted to touch on. Someone said earlier on in the video something to the tune of that, and I do wholly agree that the rise of one group just wanting better treatment does not mean they want to see the demise of another group. And I think the best example of this is Black Lives Matter for its fundamental, I'm not talking about all the other stuff, but like just the simple argument that Black people feel their lives don't matter at all does not mean that they think their lives should matter more, bigger, anything. It didn't diminish the lives of police officers. I'm talking about just the statement that Black living, breathing, then dying lives matter. I'm not talking about anything else. Don't come in my comments with that. I'm just talking about the phrase, the sentence, the fact that Black lives matter. Black lives matter because white lives matter, because Asian lives matter, because women lives matter, because babies' lives matter, right? I'm simply talking about that. Don't come over here with anything else, right? That phrase did not mean police lives don't matter and this doesn't matter. Did it turn into that? I think it did. But I don't think in the beginning when hashtag Black Lives Matter started on Twitter that it was to erase the importance of any other life. And I think that that's what she's saying here is a lot of times when people are trying to advocate for better for one group, the group on the other side turns themselves into opposition and becomes defensive because they're like, whoa, well, if you get equal rights or if you get rights, then that means you must not want me to have my rights. It's like, no, I want you to have your rights, but I want mine too. Is simply all I'm saying I agree with is that I do agree with her statement that sometimes, and and I'm not talking about feminists and men versus women, I'm just talking about in groups in general, people immediately go on the defense instead of trying to listen because of fear. Well, if you get yours, then I can't have mine. There is room at the table for everybody, right? Don't come in my comments with your Black Lives Matter dissertations. I'm only talking about the sentence. Okay? Just the actual fact of the, and if you don't think Black Lives Matter, don't even watch my videos, because then you don't think my life matters. That's like me saying white lives don't matter. Everybody's life matters. But what I'm saying to you is, because the sentence Black Lives Matter came into the forefront, the opposition of that was no, all lives matter. No one ever said all lives don't matter in the beginning when this whole thing first started. I'm only talking about, I have to keep telling y'all that because someone will pause this video and write an entire nasty, ugly, riddled with just ugh in my comments because they feel like I'm saying Black Lives Matter more than your life, his life, their daddy's life, their grandpa who was the platoon leader's life. I'm not saying that. Thank you. It's just, I already know. Oh.
I think a lot of times when a movement is created, the other side thinks that they're being attacked or think that it's some like attempt at erasure. That's not what feminism is about at all. What do you need a whole men's rights activism movement for? I'm sincerely confused.
Well, I mean, like, I will advocate for positive masculinity and what men should represent and healthy outlets for men. Like, I still think the Boy Scouts should be exclusively the Boy Scouts, for example, one of those things. Where I would like to think that we could get some common ground is when it comes to the clear biases that are in the court system, especially in the marriage and family court system.
Agreed.
Right?
Agreed.
And right there is what I would advocate for when it comes to men's rights.
The things that stand valid, like that I'm hearing from y'all that are like valid to me, come from a place of like, I'm treated like unfairly by the system, versus a lot of the things women are saying. It's also America and the system as well, but a lot of it is like harm from men.
How and where?
How and where what?
Where's this harm from men coming from?
Okay, it started when I was young. I'm not gonna talk too long. I was 16, got a bottle thrown at me because I told a boy no. It started when I was in a club, a boy touched me, I said no, he kept touching me, it got to the point he got violent. It gets to the point that the only reason why a man decided to stop touching me in the bookstore I talked about earlier is because he realized my husband was not too far away, and he said, sorry, bro, never said sorry to me. That's why, and that's off the top of my head.
Oh.
This is why I get upset, because I'm like, I'm here to talk about like how you feel, but when you just dismiss the fact that women actually have experiences, that's when it...
Well, he didn't dismiss, he asked how. He asked how, because in his experience, he doesn't understand how that was to be true. I understand her emotional response because those are three very emotional situations and very real situations. I don't doubt her situations at all, but to say that he dismissed her, I don't think he dismissed her. I think he asked. Did he ask in a way that could he have asked maybe nicer and a little more compassionately? For sure. But I think he thought she wasn't going to come with these receipts. That's his experience. Okay.
But when you just dismiss the fact that women actually have experiences, that's when it seems like it's about more than your rights. It seems like it's about your ego. And that's where I get pissed off. Because how dare you tell another human being that their experiences, what they're telling you right in front of your face, is not valid.
I didn't say
He didn't
they were
say
invalid. I said
that.
how and why. I'm trying to
How
understand.
and why?
Yeah.
It happened. It happened many times. It happened yesterday. It
why I'm
happened the day
here.
before.
Okay, I think
Right.
some of the things that you guys are touching on, such as the court system and gender roles, are a subject of patriarchy, and that's part of what women are trying to dismantle, is those traditional gender roles.
Are there any feminist organizations that have done anything, for example, to challenge bias against men and fathers in
Yeah, I don't agree with her on this. I'm trying to talk without sharing too much personal information about I'm not the only one in this situation. My issue with child support, let's just talk about child support because they brought it up, family and child court, is that a man can be a deadbeat. That is absolutely true. A man can make children and then not do anything. And naturally, by the order of things, naturally, not saying this is what always happens, but naturally the mother, the person who birthed the baby, is left with a lot of the responsibility in many, many cases. And you take this man to court because you're like, the court system is going to help me get money to at least raise this child. He may not be present. He may go do whatever he wants to do, but at least I'll get money to raise this child. He doesn't pay the money for whatever reason. Maybe he can't, maybe he can, and he just doesn't. You put him in jail for $100 a month or whatever the payment was, $2,000 a month. I don't know what the payment is. And I just think it begins this really awful cycle of hurt, anger, resentment, all things that end up falling on the shoulders of the children who were not asked to be put in this situation. This is my opinion and this is my experience. And I'm not talking about these celebrities that have to pay $24,000 a month because of the lifestyle. The children live in one home and they need to live in another home, and the celebrity, like, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about everyday men and women who have their own, you know, they're not millionaires and they're not famous people. And I struggle with that because I'm like, what good are you doing by throwing this man in jail because he didn't pay, rather than finding another way? You know, I know sometimes they'll dock wages or, you know, they'll do all these things, but I don't know. I just think it's a lot harsher on a man to recover from the way the system is set up to hold them responsible than it is, I believe, for a woman to recover, in my experience.
Organizations that have done anything, for example, to challenge bias against men and fathers in the family court system.
Absolutely.
Can you please
What are the
give me, like, a
groups?
list of feminist advocacy organizations that have engaged in any meaningful advocacy to address those issues? Because there are actually none.
Okay. I know that you came with your little research or whatever. I
Little
didn't come
research
with a
or
list
whatever.
Of, like, feminist organizations, but I know actively that there are women's organizations that are trying to dismantle those inequalities.
Just
Your
one
little
name,
list
just
or
one
whatever.
Again, I didn't
organization.
come with
Condescending. The same way the other girl just got upset because the guy said why and how. The way she just said, I didn't come. It's like, as soon as you don't have an answer for something that is very well delivered and asked of you to respond to, we don't have to get rude and personal and nasty. Like, look at her face. This is the face of feminism, ladies and gentlemen. This is why feminism has such a bad rap. This is the face of it. Look at you. Look how you're looking at this man. Because he gave you facts. He came with his little research and things.
trying to dismantle those inequalities.
Just one?
Just one.
Again, I didn't
organization.
come with a list, my dude.
There are no such
Now he's my
organizations.
dude. Now she's trying to be funny to dismiss the fact that she doesn't have facts.
Are men's rights at risk?
I think there has been significant progress over the last decade or so, especially in the legal field. But I think there are still significant disparities that need to be addressed, such as poor health conditions, bias against men in the criminal justice system, bias against men in family courts, and bias against men in the educational system, especially in colleges.
Men and women should be allies.
Men, unfortunately, many of them don't want to even have this open dialogue that we're sharing right now. We need men to help be allies, to help speak to other men.
It strikes me like the way you phrase this, you almost want men to say certain things that you want them to say, as opposed to maybe actually listening to what they're saying.
Ooh.
What certain
Like
things would I want to
just
hear?
kind of like men being allies, men talking to other men, etc. I'm completely okay with that, but I'm not going to repeat like feminist talking points to other men.
We all believe different
Right.
things.
It's like, can you imagine him coming into the locker room and being like, hey, I got some feminist jargon for y'all. I think this is a good lesson. This is a lesson I feel I've had to learn in marriage. Sorry, I put gum in my mouth because I had the taste of broccoli and chicken in my mouth. And I realized I'm smacking in my... Listen, we're family. But yeah, you've got to learn to listen to hear, or to hear to listen, instead of listening to react and respond. It's that simple. And that is a thing that has to be taught. We are not, I don't think, innately built that way as humans in any situation. But I do think the men in this situation, and I don't know, this could be editing, but they do feel like they came more to listen and the women came more to tell their story and their point rather than to hear these men. And I'm saying this as a woman I identify with these women and how I used to think, but then I don't know. Life changes, you have children, you get married, and you see the world a little differently, and you realize, I know the one lady in the gray dress said her husband, so I know she's married. I don't know about the other two women, but I don't know. I think your experiences are one thing, and then how you choose to allow them to affect and shape you and walk through life is another thing. And for me, as for me in my house, I truly believe that I was designed to be, to do, to possess, to offer certain things, and my husband was designed for those things. As a man, as a woman, as a mother, as a father, as employees, I don't know. It's exhausting, y'all, right? It's exhausting.
We may be under the label of men's rights activists, but for example, I'm probably the most traditionalist person here. I think we should be allies, but maybe us being allies in a patriarchy wouldn't be so bad. You know, us going back to the past wouldn't be so bad. It would probably be a lot happier if we were, getting married and staying married and having kids and, going to church and all that, la-di-da-di-da.
While speaking to the three of you, I feel like you're each coming from different perspectives. So it's hard to, again, just like our perspectives, it's hard to generalize. So to me, I feel like there are certain things that, even though we're not fully agreeing on it, things may get lost in translation, our verbiage may not be 100% correct, that we could at least agree on.
Can I ask one question? What would you envision would be the ideal man with the end goal of feminism as far as educating men or working to dismantle whatever patriarchy is? Like, what does that man look like?
Great
It
question.
starts with childhood. We have to teach children as well as girls, because we're also taught, because of toxic masculinity, what a man should be as well.
I think that we just need to hold men accountable in order to kind of make progress.
As girls, we're taught because of toxic masculinity what we should expect from men. I don't know about that
as well.
I think that we just need to hold men accountable. In order to kind of make progress, we need help from people that will listen. Because let's be real, when we express
She's saying a bunch
our
of
concerns,
nothing.
a lot of men refuse to listen, but they would be more likely to listen to another man.
Do you also feel like you have an ethical obligation to challenge other women or other feminist men? For example, they deny that men face discrimination.
When it comes to things like, men can't be abused, I've had this conversation with another woman, and it's the idea that just because a man may be physically stronger than us, does that mean they cannot be abused? And because of that, again, fairness, women need to be held accountable as well.
I love that she keeps looking over at the girl who I'm like my least favorite one, because I think she is the one that's kind of making them look a little bad. She's like, in all fairness, we be tripping too, girl.
I want to understand their
I get
viewpoint.
that from her.
As a woman,
I get that from her.
And a woman of color, I know how it feels to be disenfranchised. So I want to understand why they feel the need to have a men's rights movement.
I feel empathy for the other side.
I don't think yellow sweatshirt should have moved.
I don't
He
think
paused.
there's ever a time in my life where a person says they're hurting and I don't at least try to listen or understand. My only thing is that I want the same in return. So when I'm genuinely saying I'm hurting or I've been through something,
She should
and it's
be in
not just a
therapy,
personal
not at
experience,
this
because
TED Talk.
I actively do this work and surround myself with women saying I've been hurt by a man before. I get that you have stories, but I mean, that's actually my question. I haven't heard y'all stories. Like, I've sat up here and said I have 3 on the top of my head. I have about 30 plus probably. And I haven't heard y'all say, this is what happened to me.
I don't think that I'll ever invalidate a woman's feelings when she says, hey, I've been abused or whatnot. I don't think any of us here are rightfully saying that. But I think what's dangerous is when emotional testimony that may not always be what it is gets, creates bias, right?
Okay, I feel empathy for women being lost, being misguided. Look, I don't know. You can go.
Do you have any bit of empathy for anything we said up here?
Yes, I really do feel empathy for
Why was that so hard to say? Like for the stuff that we said, do you have any bit of empathy for the stories I said up here?
Yeah,
I just want to know.
I do. Yes.
Like I'm not even trying to be hostile, I just genuinely want to know.
Yeah, I just think that like a lot of the problems that have happened in your life are because society is not patriarchal, it's not traditional, it's we're gone, we're lost, we're
This kid is literally saying if we could get back to the root of men respecting women and having, wives at home and having some type of anchor belief like a religion or something like that, and having children at home and society upholding, respecting your neighbor, that things like this probably wouldn't happen as often. This is what he's saying. It's actually really good. Maybe I like this kid more than I thought. Because like if we could just go back to neighbors, like what it meant to live in a neighborhood and you could depend on your neighbors and your neighbors would speak up for you if they saw something wrong, or your neighbor's son would run across the street if he saw your daughter being bullied. But now everybody just minds their business. Now everybody's like, well, if you respect me, I respect you. There is no, and I've actually said this in my music reactions, like music has even changed. Music videos, the way people present, like men used to be in 3-piece suits when they sang, and women used to be all covered up and dolled up. And it's like, no, everything is about the opposite now. And our goals are so different and our morals are so different. And so, I think patriarchy has a very negative connotation to it. But if you look at the foundation and the root of patriarchy, it does just give some traditional guidance and respectful guidance and morality, some moral compass, I think, is what this young man is trying to say. I'm glad that they didn't edit this out, because he was starting to stress me out. But I agree with him here, and I think he's young, he's a bit immature, and he doesn't maybe have as much educational verbiage and relational conversation, admittedly. So that's why he comes off a little more nonchalant. That's upsetting the women. But this point may be the takeaway from this video for me.
Not patriarchal, it's not traditional, it's we're gone, we're lost, we're in a fallen state, right?
There is a change of guard, not necessarily a change of guard, but things are evolving, things are changing. And I feel like a lot of men speak from a viewpoint almost of fear. A lot of men are having a hard time grasping that and feeling comfortable with it.
I do feel empathy for your personal experience, but I cannot sympathize with your ideological position, because that ideological position is built on a fallacy, and that fallacy is actually that's causing very real consequences for men as a class in this country. So I understand that you are here with us as kind of the good feminist, so to speak, that you feel empathy for men, and I believe you, but I do not believe your movement, and I do not believe your ideology.
All right, we'll leave
Well
it at
said.
that. That's a wrap, guys.
Well said.
I'm sweaty. Okay.
You are very articulate.
Oh, thank
eloquent,
you.
So are you.
Yes,
Thank
so
you.
are you.
Finish the story for a long time.
Thanks for your
appreciate
time.
it.
Okay. Wow, that was
You are
interesting.
very articulate.
John, what do you think it means to disagree thoughtfully?
I think when you disagree, it's important to acknowledge the other side's opinion and to kind of respect that opinion and to know that maybe you can't change it. And I think we've had a lot of middle grounds where people stick to their sides, but they at least acknowledge and try their best to understand where the other person is coming from. And sometimes I think that's the best we can ask for.
Well, we want to hear from y'all too. Let us know about something that you may have agreed with or disagreed with. We want to see the same type of meaningful dialogue in the comments below. we'll be looking out for those. As always, make sure you leave a comment, like, subscribe. I'll see you guys next time.
Peace.
That was a lot. All right, friends. I'll see you in the comments. Be kind. Everyone is entitled to their opinion. I never want anyone to feel like they can't come here and share their opinion. It is how you are delivering your opinion. If it is riddled with name calling and insults, it doesn't belong here and it will be blocked. I want you to know. You can share how you feel without demeaning other people and their opinions, just like these people said. I'm excited to hear what you all have to say about that. This was very interesting. I've never heard of this channel, but I think I'll be hanging out with it a little bit more. Let me know if there's something from this channel you'd like me to watch, and go and have the day you deserve. Bye.